Hello everyone, I'm Stockton Nelson. When you think of an item that is really valuable, do you think of a gold or diamonds? Well, for most people that would be the case. But in history there was something more valuable to people than that even, and that was cocoa beans that make up chocolate. According to History.com, in the Aztec culture, the cocoa beans were actually worth more to them than gold or diamonds. Looking back, we think, how did the $2 candy bar such as this develop from something that was sacred and very, very powerful and would symbolize luxury or the rich? The history of chocolate dates back to as early as 1200 BCE, where the first treat was an unsweetened cocoa bean mixed with water and saturated over time that only the rich could afford. Like I said, it was a measure of a social status that many didn't even get to enjoy. Not only was a mixture of water and cocoa beans, many added their own twist to it, just as people do today, such as they would add either vanilla, allspice, or ear flour, just to give it a little bit more of a taste or to be different, to make their own combination. Now, although not everyone really enjoyed this drink at first, some saw it as too rich or sweet or didn't taste very good. And in fact, an Italian named Girolamo Benzoni declared that this drink ought to be only what a pig would drink, which to me, you would think chocolate would be tasting well, but without all the sugar that we have it added today, it didn't taste as good. After all, the backlash was overrode by the interest of many around the world when these cocoa beans were used as a trade tool, so they spread across the world quickly. Due to this being used as a bargain tool in trade and even in some cultures as a currency, a measure of high status, when trade with other countries, it spread around the world, eventually reaching to European countries where they put their own twist on it even. According to studies conducted by the University of Oregon, the spread was heavily fueled by Spaniards taking chocolate to Europe with them when they began on their adventures in settlement. The chocolate was still valuable even at this time, maybe not as valuable as it was in the Aztec culture, but it still had high ranking status. Like the only people being able to afford in Europe were the people of wealth or rich. It wouldn't be long after when production became easier when they started to ground the beans into a powder where they could add to water or wherever they wanted to use it. Some even sprinkled it on top of their meals just to show their guests of wealth. Europeans are credited with the addition of sugar to chocolate to enrich the flavor, which, as we know today, we couldn't see chocolate without sugar, which is why it tastes so good to us. Soon the powder would be spread all across the world through trade, just like it was being spread to Europe. The first introduction of chocolate to America wasn't until 1641, when a Spanish ship landed on the banks of Florida. And throughout time, it spread very quickly throughout America, with the taste being very satisfying to many Americans, and they would take it to even higher levels throughout time, as we're going to look at here in a little bit. By 1862, the first chocolate house was established in America that began producing and manufacturing chocolate in many new ways, such as you could put your own twist on it, as you could make it a chocolate bar or a chocolate chip cookie. They made it many different ways, or they added nuts to it, or made a dairy-free version. However you needed to do it, they eventually got it developed. Chocolate, as we know today, has came a long ways from being just a simple mixture with water, which we could never imagine of just, we see it as hot chocolate, but they saw it as a sacred drink that they would actually, in the Aztec culture, they would give it to their gods as a gift and to show their appreciation. According to Crown Chocolate, the first chocolate bar was created in 1875 by a guy named Joseph Fry in America. This first chocolate bar was filled with a high cocoa powder rationality, that it was left with a bittersweet taste that many people thought wasn't as great as we see it today. After time, the invention of the mass production of chocolate led to the spreading of these across the world, especially America, but across the globe. many popular brands as we see today. The first Hershey bar was produced in 1900, being one of the first American-made chocolate bars, which is a very popular one we see today. In 1930, the Snickers took headlines with chocolate, caramel, and peanuts. As I said earlier, they put their own twist on it, and that one's very popular. In 1935, the Kit Kat was invented and did it their own way with providing milk chocolate surrounding a crispy wafer. Today, there are many alternatives to chocolate, such as dairy-free, vegan, and an assortment to other flavors to satisfy any craving you may have. Looking back, we think, how could something so simple such as this $2 candy bar come from a culture where it was sacred and people gave it to their gods? And we think that's crazy, as we see this as an impulse buy at every checkout. Every bite you take into this, you can think of how this has shaped our history, both in America and across the world. From being spread across America to Europe, we look at the advancements it has made, and you can now consume chocolate in healthier ways or with other ingredients, but in the end, chocolate deserves our respect for being a part of history. Thank you.